Last year, I went through a breakup that left me feeling completely heartbroken and lost in life. However, I very quickly felt so appreciative of all of the years of hard work I have put into the practices that have helped me connect with myself, build an extreme self-trust and knowing that no matter what comes my way, I will be okay. This experience really helped me reconnect with the power of these practices that I practice every single day and that I help whoever joins my challenges have become a part of their routine, because when in the midst of a crisis of feeling completely lost and not knowing how in the world we are going to move on from a heartbreak or anything that comes in and crashes your world upside down, knowing in the midst of that even though right now we don't know how we are going to move forward, we don't know how we are going to ever find real happiness again, having that deep inner knowing and trust that we will. Knowing that we are always going to make sure that we're going to be okay. And in today's podcast episode, I want to share with you 8 very powerful steps and tools and things that I incorporated into my life when I was going through this time in my life. And I've had 4 adult relationships, as in one of them was my high school boyfriend, but I call that an adult relationship. And even though I wished I had just had one so I wouldn't have to go through yet another heartbreak. Every single breakup has taught me life lessons that have helped me become so much stronger, wiser, and more aligned and in tuned human being. So I am so extremely grateful for these hardships that I would say a heartbreak is. And no matter whether you're the one who decided to break it off, if they're the ones who decided to break it off, or it was a collaborative decision, heartbreaks and breakups are just tough. And there are multiple reasons as to why that is. I've had multiple of my friends recently go through struggles similar to this. And what I needed to be reminded of in that moment, and that I've reminded them of in these moments, is you will be okay. This too will pass. With time, it will get easier. With time, you will find joy and happiness again. I promise you. And I know that you know this because you've been through hard times in the past, and you potentially during those moments thought that life would never get better. But as you have experienced, life does get better again, and miracles does show up in your life, and that with time, everything heals if you allow yourself to heal using the tools that are going to work for you. And my hope is that one of the ones that I share with you in today's podcast episode will be useful for you. I don't know if potentially you've been going through a breakup recently, which is what I was thinking of when I started seeing multiple of my girlfriends go through this right now. I was thinking that it was time for me to share what I had learned, because if they're going through it, potentially some of you out there are as well. Or maybe you have a friend who needs a couple of tools to navigate this season of their life. When I went through this last year, I knew that I needed to heal before I could share. I needed to make this a inside journey about me moving on in the best way and learning and growing. And oh my goodness, the amount of beautiful lessons I've learned from both the relationship, but also the after effects, the after perspectives and realizations and reflections from it. It has taught me so much, and I knew I needed to go through that within before sharing it with others. And I've really built happiness again. But the other day I was with a friend who was going through something very similar to what I'd gone through, and I did not think I was going to cry. it made me really feel with her, because in the midst of it, it is painful. But as I told her, she needed to know that with time, regardless of what happens, she will be able to see that this is for her. Because what happened in my situation, oh my goodness, it was so for me. Every single thing that happened, which I don't want to go into the details of, but I just want you to trust that if you are going through it right now and you don't see the meaning of it, you will. This is for you. And you got to trust. You've got to trust in this. Before we get into these 8 little tools and points I want to bring, I was with another friend who also is going through a breakup right now, but what she called it was uncoupling, which I love. I loved that wording of it, going through an uncoupling. When we get into a relationship, and if we believe it's a long-term thing, maybe potentially a forever thing, we create this narrative in our head that, oh, it has to be forever. And if it then suddenly turns out that it's not supposed to be forever, it's very hard to comprehend, both because of our own narratives that we've created in our minds about this, but also because of the people around us who maybe have been integrated into this relationship. Maybe we've been posting on social media about this relationship, which is something I've done, and I've done this in 2 relationships. So I've gone through 2 public breakups, and the first one, I shared the whole journey. I made YouTube videos while I was in the midst of it, and I just knew that this time, that's not how I wanted to go about it. I want it to be a me thing, so that I could share from a perspective viewpoint, from a more wise viewpoint. So this other friend of mine, she called it that she was uncoupling. And I just find it so beautiful when you can, instead of see it as, oh, my world is ending, this is the worst thing that can happen to me, see it as a chapter in your life that came with the good and the lessons and the everything in between. And it was a chapter of life that it's at the end, which means that now is our opportunity for a new chapter. It makes it more easy to be able to move on with our life without feeling stuck, because we see it as a chapter. And just as an uncoupling, I was in a relationship and now I'm moving on to the next chapter and stage of my life. And I will say, I feel I am a good representation. I'm glad I took this time until before I shared it with the world, because I really have completely created a new, beautiful life for myself. At the end of our relationship, I was feeling not in aligned. Many, many things were happening within me that I couldn't explain within my body. And having now created a life that is in so much alignment with the things and the people and the activities and everything that makes me happy, then suddenly things fall into place. And when we're in the midst of it, it can be really, really hard to see from a perspective, from a wider perspective point of view. And only when we are on the other side, completely finished that chapter and moved on, can we see it for what it was. And oh man, have I been able to see things that I was not capable of seeing when I was in the midst of it. And oh my goodness, I had such a beautiful time in that relationship. It taught me so many beautiful lessons, and I had so many incredible experiences. I was so happy for a majority of it. And then there were things that I needed to learn, like hit hard learn, like crash in the face learn, which I will be forever grateful for now to have learned, because it has made me never ever be in situations like that again, or how to navigate different things, how to feel energies in different ways, how to be me fully and completely. And with that being said, let's dive in to these 8 things that I recommend for anyone who's going through a breakup, which I'm hoping that if that's not you, but you have a friend who is, that you would be willing to share this with them if you think it could be useful. First thing I already mentioned, it's reminding yourself that this too will pass, that time heals all, and that you will feel better and better and better, that this pain will not last forever. The second thing that I would love for you to do is write down a list of every single time in your life that you've gone through something really, really, really hard, something really challenging. And you can do this even if you're not going through a breakup, but something else that's challenging at the moment. Write down all of the times that you've gone through something really hard, and next to it, write down what you learned, why this challenging time was actually for you, why it led you to live the life that you get to live today, why it has helped you become the person that you have become today. The third recommendation that you do is the no contact rule. It is a rule that many relationship experts share and advise people to do when they're going through a breakup, which is something that I decided to do later on than I should have, but I ended up doing it because there had been back and forth a lot with us. And when it was like clear we're not moving forward with us being together, I decided to message him saying that I needed to not have any contact so that I could move on. And what the no contact rule is basically you don't text or call them, but you also don't look at photos or videos or listen to voice notes or stalk their social media. That's another one I've written down. I did not look at his social media. There is no reason for you to look at the person's social media. And there is a scientific reason why. When we are in a relationship, our nervous system is literally bonded to this other person. And to break that, when you're with this person, your brain releases good feeling hormones, which makes you feel safe and connected in this relationship or when you're with this person. And when you go through a breakup, your nervous system sees this sudden cut as a thread to your survival because it's so wired and used to this connection with this person. And that's also why you may feel anxious or nervous or have these flashbacks when you hear a song or you see a photo or you hear something that reminds you of them. And so healing is about creating these or rewiring your nervous system to create these new patterns and new threads of safety and connection through journaling and meditating and new activities and not having contact with them and creating these new good feeling routines. And so just like when we let go of anything in life, it does take time to adjust, but with time, your body will adjust to these new pattern changes. And with that, you can retain getting back to this feeling of safety and calmness within and feeling full and whole and complete without them. Even though I know right now, if you're going through it, it may feel like you cannot, but I promise you, you will. And that's why after the third point, which is no contact, you may need to message them like I did. I wanted to make, I wanted to share that I wasn't ignoring them, that it wasn't about him. It was about me needing this for my healing. Maybe that's what you want to do. Whatever you decide to do that you think is the right way to do it, I really, really recommend that you do this. And maybe you want to have someone to support you in that. If you want to join my community, we will support you in that. We will speak with you through it. We support each other in whatever goals we have, which I'll link below in the case you want to join our community to have some supportive people around you, non-judgmental supportive people around you. But in whatever way you want to do it, maybe you want to journal on it for a bit to figure out what the right solution is to do for you. But really, 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 really recommend the no contact so that your nervous system can adjust and not continuously have that addiction, because it can turn into addiction. I have a friend who has been without partner for a couple of years and keeps going back. And that's why also my fourth point is do not self-sabotage yourself by stalking them on social media. Many people will say, oh yeah, it's the normal thing to do. Who couldn't? But you literally can choose not to. You can choose to not self-sabotage yourself in that way. What good does it do for you? I think it's a sense of feeling like you're in control, knowing what they're doing, but let them do what they need to do for their healing, and you focus on you, because your healing is not about them. It has nothing to do with them. What you got to focus on is taking care of you. is being loving towards you. And I can imagine if you had a daughter or a best friend who would go look at their social media and it would make them feel bad or whatever, you would not want them to do that because you wouldn't want them to hurt themselves. And I want you to develop such a loving relationship with yourself where you don't want to hurt yourself and do anything that isn't nice towards you, because this time is about you healing you and getting to a better place than ever before. Because this breakup, uncoupling, can really be the greatest gift of your life if you use it wisely, if you use it to develop this self-love, which I'm going to share some more ideas as to how you can do this. I also have a little gift for you at the end of the episode that I want to share that I think could be valuable and useful for you as you navigate this time. I had a friend not too long ago message me or voice note me sharing that this person had decided to no longer focus on this other person who they used to be with because they wanted to heal. They wanted to start focusing on them again and not allow this addiction be ruling her life anymore. And she felt that this person had done her wrong. And we had made a commitment that she wouldn't reach out to that person anymore. She wouldn't even allow herself to think about it, talk about it, because she was over it. She had done that for so long now. So we had committed that that was something she no longer would do. And then she sent me this voice note saying that it's just because I feel like this person has done me wrong and I really want to speak up, so that it's almost like I feel like I'll put myself in respect to let this person know that I don't feel that it was okay what they did, and, sharing why she felt the need to reach out to this person. And what I told her, I was in the midst of this no longer people pleasing and not sharing what I actually believe, because if I share my truth, it actually might even help the other people even more. And I told her, this is not about them. This is not about you gaining their respect. This is about you. It's about you healing. It's about your journey. So if you understand you, if you know that you no longer will allow that behavior, it is something you need to deal with within you, making that clear that this is something you no longer will allow in your life. Understanding your boundaries, understanding what you need moving forward in your life. It's not about them. And after I had sent that voice note, she was just like, yeah, this is so true. This is what I needed. And she never reached out to the person to, make her point right, make that person know that she was in the right and that person was in the wrong. No, she focused once again inward. And I feel like I've done this exact same thing through my breakup. I've focused on me, what I needed, that it's not about him. It's about me learning my lessons. So if I've ever, come to some new awareness and realized, whoa, was this what happened? Was this what was going on? Whatever. Not needing to reach out to the person. No, this is about me. This is about what I want in the future, what I no longer will want in my life, right? It's about me. It's not about the other person. And that also leads to not making impulsive decisions or taking impulsive action. Just feel, experience. When something comes up, write it down, reflect on it yourself. Don't let it go out on other people. This is about you. It's about your healing. It's about your future. It's about falling in love with you, creating a life that is going to make you the happiest moving forward in this new next chapter of your life, and seeing every new realization as a beautiful learning lesson as to what you want moving forward. I've talked quite a bit about this idea of how it's not our experience that creates the suffering. It's about the resistance that we have towards the experience. Maybe we thought we were going to be in a relationship for forever. And then when this relationship we realize that it's not supposed to be, things were not as they are supposed to be, then we may have a lot of resistance towards that. And there can be many reasons for that resistance. It could be that we thought we had the dream relationship and realized we don't, or that other people will judge us for no longer being with that person, or judge us for whatever it is that they'll judge us for, or whatever made up idea that we have resistance towards now not being the real reality anymore. But if we can let go of the resistance and accept what is, the experience becomes so much easier, more gentle to overcome. So when you want to take impulsive action, just take a couple of deep breaths, reflect with yourself, meditate, journal, write it down, and maybe tomorrow look at it again. Maybe call a friend or a parent or a sibling or someone who you can speak with this about and hear their thoughts as well. It really can be helpful to get other people's opinions. Many people in my life had been telling me things, And when we're in the middle of it, when we're in love, we don't see it. We don't want to see it. They do say love makes us blind. But the people closest to us, not always, but the people closest to us, if we have respect for their values and their opinions as a whole, doesn't mean they're always going to be right, because you know what's right for you and you have your journey, right? Sometimes someone will know what's right for you 10 years before you can see it. I've noticed that with my parents time and time again. They'll say something to me and I will have my resistance towards it, and then they will say it again and again, and not until I'm ready to receive it, to heal it, to change whatever it is that I'm doing, will I be able to make that change. Other times they've said things that hasn't changed my thought on the world, way of living. Who knows if it will or if it won't. But in situations like this, when you're going through a breakup, potentially certain people should be listened to. There were certain people in my life where I could feel their judgmental opinion is not something I need right now. So I cut that out. But things that were coming from a loving, heartfelt place, I really needed to hear at the time. And it was really helpful for me. So potentially you have one person in your life who you really value and you feel safe with. Maybe they're the people that you should ask to support you throughout this time. And that leads to the fifth point. Well, that was really the fifth point of doing what you need during this time. Focus on what you need, not on what other people need, what your ex needs, what you need. Of course, you want to obviously take their feelings into consideration, but it's a time where you got to focus on you. That leads me for you to ask yourself, what brings you joy? Because in a time like this, it is so crucial and important that you, yes, have your moments of grief, of feeling sad, but that you every single day schedule in something that brings you joy, or used to bring you joy. Maybe nothing is bringing you joy at this very moment, but something that brings you joy. For me, to give you some examples, that is working on my goals, on my dreams, on my purpose, spending time with my community. My community didn't even know that I was going through this, because when I was in my community, I've had many of calls with my community, and that was just a time for me to let go of anything else and just really hone in on how can I add value and feel the love of this community and let go of whatever else is going on in my life. And of course, using the lessons I'm learning in my coaching, but that was something that brought me a lot of joy and healing as well. They say that we support them, but they support me like wild, crazy much. Movement brings me joy. And at that time, if you don't feel like moving, that's exactly when you need to move. And potentially you need, again, to call a friend and say, hey, how about we work out every morning at this time for the next 30 days? Or can we book this yoga class every Sunday night? Or even though I'm not going to feel like playing volleyball on Thursday afternoon, you're going to have to grab me and take me to go regardless. Like, have them support you during this time. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you're someone who shows up for others. And this is a time where you need to help for their support. I would write a list of things that bring you joy. That's also something I did when I started thinking, okay, now last year we were digital nomading. What do I want for this next chapter of my life? Do I want to continue to travel the world? Do I want to live in a certain place? Where do I want to move to? What do I want to do? And I wrote a list of all the things that brought me joy in life. And that's what led me to now move to Santa Monica. And oh my goodness, I love my life here, because I put down all the things that bring me joy and that I wanted to be able to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And it led me to realize that this is where I wanted to move to. This is where I wanted to live. And I think that if you write a list of all the things that bring you joy, you can little by little start structuring, creating what this new chapter of your life needs to look like. That was the sixth point. And the seventh point I've already touched upon, which is don't act out of impulsiveness. Use this time to reflect and heal your world within. It's about you. It's not about them. Which leads me to the eighth point, which is self-care. We're talking journaling, meditation, visualization about your future, doing things and hobbies that bring you joy, going for walks when you don't feel like it, spending time with your loved ones. I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast that it was wild how quickly I was able to shift into groundedness of knowing that I would be able to create a life wilder than I could have ever experienced in the midst of this, that I was so trusting and connected to myself in the knowing that I was going to make sure that I was going to be okay and that this was for me. In the midst of hardship, if you have developed such a powerful, strong, deep connection and love with yourself, really self-esteem, you can get through anything. And the way that I've done this is time and time again showed up in my journaling practice, read the self-development books, meditated every day. I've journaled and meditated every single day for 5 years now. When I have noticed that, oh wow, the reason I am acting in this way in my life, showing up in this way in my life is because of a deep sense of unworthiness, not feeling good enough due to childhood traumas or wanting someone's approval. I have dug into it, uncovered it, and connected with who I am, which my life coach asked me. I have a life coach. I believe that the best coaches in the world have coaches themselves. So I've invested a big chunk of money into an extremely incredible life coach. And he asked me, one of the questions this week was, do you know you're enough? Like we were talking about this idea of being enough. Then he asked me, why are you enough? And my answer was, because I am. It has taken me a long time to get to just knowing that I'm enough because I am, that I don't need to do or be or act in any certain way to be enough, even though obviously I have my low points, especially during period season where my hormones can be a little bit out of whack. But deep down, I know now that I am enough. And I, as an 18-year-old, remember the first time my mom had been on this self-love course and learned Louise Hay's, look into your eyes in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. I remember just bawling my eyes out because I didn't even like myself. I hated myself. I did not think I was good in any way when I asked myself deeply. On the outside, it may have looked like I was fine because I was maybe a little funny, a little cool, at least trying to be. But with my friends, I sometimes, was trying to like, I don't care kind of vibe to be cool. But really that came from me really caring. And so I have come a long way. And the reason I know that I'm always going to be okay is because I've developed this relationship with myself, and it comes from showing up every single day in my journaling practice, meditative practice, when I catch myself thinking some not nice thought and asking myself, why am I thinking that? And rewiring my brain into believing better feeling thoughts, beliefs, which lead to better actions. The reason that I've been able to stay disciplined and consistent all these years is also due to the self-respect and trust that I've developed within. And I know now today, no matter what life will bring me, I'll be okay. And you can get to a place like that as well. If you are currently going through an uncoupling or a breakup, this might be the reason that you begin to really take these practices seriously. I have many journals inside of my Challenger community. If you join my challenge community, one of my transformation challenges, but the first one that I ever made is called 30-Day Transformation Self-Love Journal. And I want to give it to you for free for listening to this podcast episode and being here with me and being willing to put in this work to better yourself and improve yourself. And I believe that these journaling prompts will leave you feeling in a different state than where you are right now. In 30 days, if you go through this and you really dig into these journaling prompts, oh my goodness, will that be a beautiful beginning of you developing that beautiful relationship with yourself. I'll put it in the link below so you can download it and commit to these 30 days of journaling. And I want to just remind you that you will be okay. This is for you, whether you can see it now or not. I'm sure you've had a relationship in the past that you can look back on now and know that, oh my goodness, it's good that I'm no longer in that. At the time, maybe you couldn't, but today you see it. And this too will be one of those. I promise you, this will be for you if you choose to do good with it, if you choose to dive in and make the necessary changes, uncover those deep, ugly truths that lie hidden as gifts within you when you unpack it. If you have a friend who you think would find this useful, who you know has been going through potentially a challenging time, I hope that you're willing to share it with them. That and subscribing to my podcast is the only way that I can grow this podcast. And I would love if it's helpful to you that we can be useful and helpful for others as well. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I am just sending you so much love, and I feel you. I'm so connected to this, especially because I saw my friend the other day who I felt her pain, and it helps, really. It helps for me. It helped me go through pain to this extent again so that I could reconnect with those of you who also are going through challenging times right now. I'm so grateful for you. I love you, and you're gonna be okay. I promise you, you are going to be okay. Just take one little step at a time in the right direction. Remind yourself that you got this, and I believe in you. You're gonna be okay. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm.